What's going on, everybody? This is Corey, and I'm excited to see you today. Those of you that are joining me on YouTube, see my fresh looking haircut that I just got today because I was looking a little bit like Chewbacca and needed to get that fixed. So it's great to see you today. Been traveling a lot the last few days, few weeks, but I'm back here and excited to come at you today. Maybe with something a little lighter. I feel like a lot of the stuff that I've talked about, I don't talk a lot about that more in the future, but decided to kind of change gears a little bit today and talk a little bit about something that I get asked about a decent amount. I always laugh that, like, when people put stuff on social media, they say things like, I get asked all the time. Usually what they mean is I get asked by one person. And I want to say that a lot of people ask me about it to make me seem more important. I don't think I've had a ton of people ask me about this, but a handful, about ice baths. And I want to talk a little bit about the benefit of them and how they work and why they've worked so much, give you a couple resources, and maybe give you something to try. So I've gone through a lot over the last couple of years, a lot of it dealing with some of the things I've talked about, been through trauma, been through abuse, walked through faith, deconstruction. But in the process, I'm still health and wellness coach. So, trying to fix your head, while at the same time trying to control your body is a challenge. I think one of the things that for many people is a really big problem is that we let things that we cannot control impact things that we can. So there's a lot of things going on in our world that cause anxiety that we cannot control. What other people do, we cannot control. But there's a lot of things that we can control. We can control the food we eat. We can control whether we move our body as long as it allows us to. We obviously have, health issues or injuries or different things that maybe limit you. But for the vast majority of us, we have things in our world that are in our control, and we have some things that are not in our control. And most people tend to be very overwhelmed with life because they focus a lot on things that they can't control and they allow it to impact things that they can. I'm also someone that has a really hard time sleeping. I've just been taking some medication. I try to be honest about as much as I can be. But I've tried melatonin for a long time and it just didn't really connect, and it made me have crazy dreams. Like I don't even want to tell you, you mix you mix melatonin with substances and there's some craziness that can happen. But I started taking a different sleeping medication, and it's what helped a lot. And I sleep a lot better. But I've always had a really hard time turning my mind off. For those of you that are overthinkers or tend to be dealing with anxiety, which I've learned, and that there's a big difference between anxiety and depression. Depression tends to be when you're thinking about things that have happened in the past, thinking about trauma, thinking about abuse, thinking about seasons coming to an end. Depression happens. Anxiety tends to be about things that haven't happened yet, things that are in the future. And I have lots of reasons to be overwhelmed with things of the past, but my issues tend to more be anxiety about things that haven't happened yet. And we can create all sorts of problems in our head that don't even really exist because we just don't know how to process and handle it. So in the process of really trying to deal with a lot of that, I was introduced to ice baths as a part of my health and wellness routine. As a health and wellness coach, Julie, myself, we've been coaching for a long time, about 8 years. We love it. It's something that we truly do enjoy. Part of the issue with that, and the reason I became a coach to begin with, is it's great accountability. It's really difficult to put yourself out there as a health and wellness coach, and then you are not healthy yourself. And I struggled with that for a long time. I did not enjoy working out. I still don't enjoy working out. Got a trainer, work with him almost every day. We don't work out on the weekends, but every day. Mike Gardner has been a godsend to me. Ironic that I've been talking about deconstruction and say godsend, but we're going to let that go for another day. But he's been a very big part of my journey. And one of the things that we do together every day when we work out is we take ice baths. Started in the winter, and I have a pool, so jumped in the cold water there, and then I got an ice barrel, which is a great thing. But the problem that I ran into with it is that you had to add ice to it a lot of times. So I got something called a cold plunge that I use now every day, which I can plug into an outlet, and it just keeps the water at a certain temperature. And so part of our routine every day is after workout, we will have a hot tub, jump into a hot tub for 10 minutes, then get into the ice, and then we get back into the hot. So it's hot, cold, hot. And there's a lot of great scientific benefits that come from putting your body through stressful situations. There's a great book if you'd like to read a little bit more about this. First and foremost, I am not a doctor. I am not a health professional. I am just somebody with a story and an experience. And I'm going to tell that to you. Whether this is going to be your story or not, that is, I don't know. So please don't hold me responsible for the effects that it has on you. I can just tell you what it has on me. I also know that there's many people that don't have access to a cold plunge or a hot tub. You do have access to a tub or a shower. And you could start this process by taking a hot shower, followed by 2 to 3 minutes in a very cold shower, and then warming yourself back up again. But there's a lot of benefits that come from putting your body through those extremes. I'm just going to share some of the benefits that I've found from it, and then you can do what you want. And by the way, as is with anything, I am an open book. Message me. I love interaction. I'm all over all the things. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on my Apple podcast or anywhere podcasts are found. I'm there. But you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and just shoot me a message and just ask me some questions. I'd love to interact with you there, and tell me some things that you would like to know about ice baths, or if you've tried it, what your experiences have been. It's crazy how so many people find themselves terrified of cold water. And maybe that's a reason to do it. I shared this in my book several years ago, but one of the cool things about fear in our life is that fear tends to be something that we probably should be walking towards instead of walking away from. And a lot of people are scared of cold water. That's why people panic. The body is absolutely amazing in that when you get into the cold water, the first place you feel the feeling leave you is your outer extremities, your fingers, your toes, your hands, your legs. And it goes to your center mass. It's trying to protect the organs that are vital to survival. And your hands and toes and arms and legs are not vital to your survival. Your center mass is. And so your body will take all of the blood from your outer extremities, bring it into your core mass organs, and it happens dramatically. And what I've learned there are some really great benefits aside from, in your head, but even I don't get sore very much after working out anymore. It helps a lot with inflammation, but there's a couple of things that it really does help with. And that is, number one, teaching you how to breathe. Think about this. If you were in cold water and you were drowning, what happens when you get into cold water? You gasp, you hyperventilate, you just try, you fight. And if I was able to control my breathing and you were hyperventilating, you're going to drown faster than me. Now, the likelihood of us being in Titanic waters where you're Rose and I am Jack, first of all, get your ass over on that raft, Rose. Okay. There was way more than enough room on that raft for both of you. And you're being selfish. All right. You're being selfish, Rose. Get over. And it's Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Part of that's on you, Rose. Anyway, I don't know if we're going to be in situations like that, but if we were, you're going to survive a lot longer if you can learn how to breathe. The other aspect of it that I love is it shows you, because when you go from hot to cold and then back into hot, when the warmth comes back into your body, it feels amazing, absolutely amazing. Your body feels alive, rejuvenated, and it feels wonderful. And what that shows me, at least, is that if you can just breathe through difficult situations, there are some good things that come on the other side of it. One thing I can promise you, if you're an overthinker, is that you will not be thinking about anything when you are in the ice. Your house could have burned down an hour ago, and you're not thinking about that house when you're in that ice. You're thinking about surviving. You're thinking about making it through that. And there's a lot of cool things that come from just singularly focusing on breathing through the shit. All right. I'm breathing through the shit. I'm not going to overreact. I'm not going to think about this. The reality is we are always wanting to be safe. Our bodies, minds assess threats from everywhere. And when I get into the cold water, my mind is like, oh my God, I'm going to die. But you're not. You tell yourself, I'm not dying. I'm not freezing to death. I'm just cold. You breathe through it. And there's some cool things that are coming on the other side of that. Another benefit, and again, this is where I'm not claiming to be a doctor in any way. This has just been my experience. I get sick a lot, especially in November and December and January. My immune system is not that great. I've had pneumonia several times. In the book, in Wim Hof's book, which I would highly recommend getting and listening to it or reading it on your own, he talks about how he has not gotten sick like a cold in over 30 years. And here's his thoughts on that. He says, I can either go to the cold or I can let the cold come to me. So I go to the cold. I've seen that. This past year was the first November and December in decades that I can remember not getting sick. I stopped ice bathing in like May and June-ish, and I got sick. I started doing it again, and I haven't been sick since, other than like, allergy type stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So here's where I would suggest what my routine is. I get into 40-degree water for 3 minutes. I worked up to that. Start with something. Start with cold showers. Start with a cold bath. Start with maybe whatever. Like, I'm going to change the temperature. I'm not going to get into scalding hot water. I'm going to get into warmer. It really does a lot for your body when you can put it through stressful situations. So that's my thoughts on ice bath. Give it a try. I hope this was helpful. I hope you got to hear a little bit about my experience and why it's been so helpful, so beneficial. And I encourage you to give it a try. Send me a message and let me know what your experience is. So that's all, everybody. Got to go work out myself now and do a hot cold plunge for myself. So this has been Corey Baker, the Chasing Better podcast. Ice baths are intense. Give it a try.